Much feeling.
Yes. The Scotties joined us too, so we'll wait for others to continue to join us. How's the weather in the Panhandle?
Pretty nice right now. Yeah, it's low
Okay.
50s, sunny. So
Okay.
yeah, we're doing good. We're seasonal for
Okay.
sure. Yeah.
I don't know that we've seen much sun our way this week, but
Yeah, we're lucky here, I guess.
yeah, 49 here.
Okay.
So yeah, our speakers are here, so we'll just wait for everybody else to join us.
It'll give me a chance to get off the video.
Yeah, my desk is looking like a paper factory blew up on it. So, Jerry, do you have a chance to add the slides or pull those up? I see Tish and Deanna are starting to join us. So,
Yeah, I was just having some trouble with the live on YouTube, but I got it going finally.
okay.
So,
Okay.
well,
Perfect.
there you go, ma'am.
Thank you. So, with Thanksgiving being next week, I was talking to my daughter. She's hosting Thanksgiving this year, and she said she doesn't really like turkey. That was a new piece of information for me. So, what's your favorite Thanksgiving item? Or what are you having for Thanksgiving? Thought that might be a good way to kick off our presentation during this holiday Thanksgiving season.
We're going to my best friend's house, and today she asked me if I would make the mashed potatoes, but I have to make them dairy free. So, this is going to be a new
Oh,
experience for me.
okay. That's on my to-do list as well. I gave birth to the child and never knew she didn't like, wasn't that crazy about turkey. So, okay. We are having people continue to join us, so we'll wait a couple more minutes. The funny thing about that is her husband is smoking a turkey for Thanksgiving, so we don't get away from the traditional meal. He really wanted to do one, so we're back with the turkey. So, okay. Val is traveling, but he will have a traditional Thanksgiving dinner. I was thinking soup or lasagna, something, but it's all good food.
We always
Okay.
have Thanksgiving with my husband's family on Saturday because the other side of the family has a Catholic priest, and that's the only holiday they get is on Thanksgiving. And so we have soup and sandwiches on Saturday.
Okay. Sounds easy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. As people continue to join, we'll give one more minute here and then we'll get rolling. So Beverly likes stuffing. That has gone away in my family over the years, but I do remember enjoying my mom's stuffing at Thanksgiving. because I never knew how to make it. So that kind of got lost in our family. So, okay. We'll give one more minute and then we'll get started because our presenters have a lot of great information to share. So thanks for joining us this morning or this afternoon.
I'm going to go off screen real quick. I'm going to go close my door and let everybody know I'm on a
Okay.
Zoom call.
Sounds good, Brenda. Okay. Well, I think we will go ahead and get started. I know others will be continuing to join us, but I do want to give our presenters ample time for the information they have to share with us today. So welcome to all of you and thank you for joining us on our November 2025 HomeNE webinar. My name is Lori Ferguson and I'm a community consultant for South Central Economic Development District. Here in Holdridge, we cover a 13 county region from Central down to the Kansas border. And so thank you for making this a priority in your day when you could be doing so many other things. We're glad that you've joined us today. So SCED, South Central Economic Development District, serves as the lead agent for HomeNE, which is a statewide learning network that's designed for people from all across Nebraska. So it is geared towards housing and especially our rural communities. And we're going to be hearing more about rural communities today. HomeNE does provide face-to-face interaction as well as online opportunities to foster interaction, engagement, and skill building for all of you who are passionate about your housing needs and growth in your communities. So we've put on the screen here a map of the communities that have been represented in the HomeNE program over the years since it was first launched in late 2017. And one of our presenters today was there from the very beginning, and he'll be sharing a little bit more about that later. But you can see the growth primarily in Nebraska, but we've also been joined by people from outside of our borders as well. So thank you to all of you. I think, Sherry, 980 some participants over the time period. So those impact numbers are there at the bottom of your screen. So feel free to take a look at those. So our guests today are John Madsen and John Schmaderer. They're from Stuart, Nebraska. The village and John Madsen, as I mentioned previously, are no strangers to the HomeNE Learning Network. And I've asked John to share a little bit more about that before he starts today. He's been with us from the very beginning, and so he has some great history with this learning network. So welcome to John and John, both in Stuart. How are you?
Fine, Lori. Doing well.
Good, good.
Thanks for having us.
So
We're happy
you're
to be
very
here.
welcome, and thank you for agreeing to be our presenters today. I know it's a busy day for you as well as a busy time of the year, and I really do appreciate your willingness to share with us today. So before we begin, John Madsen, would you like to share a little bit about your history with HomeNE and also take a few minutes to introduce yourselves to our group today?
We'll talk about HomeNE first because Sharon and I had the pleasure of going up to Redfield, South Dakota back in 2017. And we met with the folks at Dakota Resources there, and they gathered a group of housing interested people from across the state of South Dakota. And they were doing coaching and training and promoting for housing solutions for the state of South Dakota. And one of the things that they did was they had webinars that people could sign up for and participate in. And we kind of thought, Sharon and I thought that'd be a great thing to try in Nebraska. So we had some of the folks from South Dakota come down to Lincoln, and we had a planning meeting with Matt Rizak from Sherwood Foundation and some others on East Campus about developing the HomeNE network, coming up with a name and a format of what we wanted to do. And that's the original start of HomeNE. And we're excited to share information from around the state with others. Many of us were already getting contacted individually from different communities because they'd heard that this town had done that or this region had done something else, and they wanted to know what to do to help get housing initiatives started in their area. And so we thought this would be a great opportunity. Thank goodness that Sharon and the staff at SCED and Lori and Sherry and others have been so diligent and serving the state of Nebraska by conducting more than 80 webinars in the last 7 years, one every month, and trying to find people to share the story and to get the word out about housing in Nebraska. It's had a tremendous impact, not just in the red dots, but throughout the state, because you just need to look around and see the improvements that have been made in housing supply for the state of Nebraska, and some of the legislation that's come about because of interest around the state. And not that there isn't more to do, but HomeNE has had a big part in making a lot of that happen. I appreciate the service that we get from SCED to do this every month. I know it can't always be easy to come up with something new and inventive and entertaining and informative, but they do a great job, and I appreciate that.
Thank you, John. So go ahead and give us just a brief introduction of both of you, and then we'll get started.
Great. Thank
Your
you.
role in Stewart?
50 years ago, I moved to town. I work at the lumber yard. It's called the William Crowder Company, and my wife is one of the owners, and she doesn't work there, but I do, and I work for her. And been involved on the village board. Been involved with the Stewart Development Corporation since its inception in 1991. Been involved with Stewart Village Manor, which John will mention. He's the president of now. I'm the vice president. And we built our first duplex back in 1978. So it's been a long time. We've been involved in housing rehab. His mom was on the first housing rehab board back in 1983, and we've been doing housing rehab since then. Still have an active rehab board, and we've probably done, I don't know the exact number now, but over 110, we've rehabbed over 110 houses in our community since that time. Yeah, I enjoyed every minute of it. John can tell about himself. He's the president of Tri-County Bank.
Yeah, I'm John Schmatter, Tri-County Bank. John Madsen works for a family-owned lumber yard that's 125 years old, I believe, this year.
134.
134. Well, yeah, wow. Our family-owned business has just turned 80 on Monday, so our families have been at this a long time. And while we have something to share today, trust me, we learn way more from all of you than we can come up with on our own. So we're not so confident that we think we invented rural housing strategies. We borrowed all the rural housing strategies that are out there. But again, John we'll talk about some of these organizations in our community. John's the president of the Stewart Development Corp, who manages a lot of things, including our spec house program. I'm the president of Stewart Village Manor Inc., who handles most of the rental housing in our community, not privately, but through apartments. So I think we have a pretty broad perspective on what we do. I want to talk a little bit about, just to give you the setting of Stewart's on the next slide. We say we're 500 people. That's about right. So you can plus it or minus it however you want. We sit right in between O'Neill and Ainsworth, Atkinson and Bassett. So we are pretty strategically located. For example, there's 6 high schools within 35 miles of Stewart. We have 276 housing units. 168 of those are owner occupied. Medium value per house, probably a little bit higher than what you may see in communities of 500 people. Median income and median age are also fairly strong, at least in north central Nebraska, comparatively speaking. As you get close to metro areas, that probably is a little bit lower than what you'd see in small communities around there. But Obviously, we have agriculture is our main driver of business, but we've also done a pretty good job in Holt County and Rock County of diversifying that. I'll turn it over to John to kind of talk about all the components, the partnerships that we have to have that we think is important for a good housing program in rural Nebraska.
The Village of Stewart has always been strong about trying to be as self-sufficient as possible. And so we still have our own electrical generators that operate and can operate to run the town at any time. We sell excess power to NPPD when they have a need, when they have demand. Back in the 80s, we condemned our natural gas company and took that over. So we run our natural gas company as well, do all the service work, and obviously provide all the gas. We had an opportunity a few years ago to buy a natural gas company based out of O'Neill in the rural area there. And so we're providing gas to irrigation systems and corn dryers east of O'Neill. And when the people around Stewart heard that we were doing it down there, they said, well, why don't you do it here? So we built another gas company line northwest of town, and we do that here now too. So I can't tell you exactly how many quarters we service, but it's a huge number. It makes a lot of income, generates a lot of income for the village. When I moved to town, we'd already built and owned the nursing home. We still do. Added an assisted living onto it, and we do our own garbage, recycle. We have our own recycling plant. We do also pave our own streets now. We've got a town of 500 plus people. Very few towns of 500 plus people have 18 full-time village employees. And because of all the services that we provide and everything that's demanded of us, we have that many. And it's a real boon for us, and it's a benefit of the area too, because we provide services to some of the other towns around because they don't have the staff that we do to provide that kind of service. We have had if I could go back one more, right, please, Sherry. We do also, we've had rehab down payment assistance programs and first-time home buyers programs. We just recently passed LB 840, so we use that income. The Stewart Development Corporation was formed back in 1991. We buy lots. We've done infill of building homes. We've built 15 spec homes since we started. We have plans to do another one. We'll talk more about that later. We have a business revolving loan fund, and we've done close to $1 million worth of business loans in the town of 500 people. We own the theater building, and we have a group that runs that. It's all volunteer, and it's very nice and well received. And we're the major shareholder in our recently purchased grocery store. So that's one of the other hats that I get to wear, is to be the president of that LLC to run the grocery store. We own a company called Stewart Village Manor Incorporated, and that's what John talked about. He's the president of that. And we've got, I guess we have 14 or we have 16.
Well, we'll have 18.
We're gonna, yeah, we have 14 now, and we're planning to do 4 more, and he'll talk about that as we move through this process. Okay, Sherry, we're ready to go to the next one. That's a little bit of a recap. I forgot to mention we did nuisance abatement through CNED, and it was very successful here. We've had a large number of local contractors and builders. We've been able to do most of the work ourselves. We've had great cooperation from the bank, one of the largest mortgage providers in north central Nebraska, and they're really good at it. So that's helped us a lot. What's next?
I'll talk just, there's a million different areas of focus when it comes to rural housing, in our opinion, and we've narrowed it down to 3 that we feel are most important in our community. Rehab, in our opinion, is the basis for housing. So you're identifying homes that have that need longevity added to them. So whether it be infrastructure or whatever. So we're reaching out to those homeowners saying, hey, we have these rehab funds available. Rehab, while there's certainly some pretty strict guidelines, they're all about increasing the longevity of that home another 25 or 30 years. So most of our communities have homes that could be rehabbed. This is low cost money, normally partnered with a bank or with the owner's own money or however. So it's not that rehab does the whole project. Rehab does the important part of the project. They take a secondary lien to whoever else is involved, and it allows people to do larger projects. So I don't know, we got that money in the early 80s and we still use it every year. It's been reused to the tune of almost a couple $1 million during that time. So at the end of the day, you're taking houses that need improved, giving people the opportunity to improve that. The next piece of that, and the last piece is the flashiest piece, and that's what we all want to talk about. But the next piece, people kind of forget about this. So when you identify properties that cannot be fixed up, right? We really have to get rid of those. It doesn't matter if you're in a metropolitan area or in rural Nebraska. If it can't be fixed, it can't be fixed. So that's where demo and nuisance abatement comes in on that. We have done a really good job of identifying those properties, working with the property owner to get it in a position where it can be rehabbed, or can be removed. And what we find is people will really shy away from a demo project because they don't know what to do with it. It just, it's expensive to do this. It's, they just can't vision what that looks like. But when our development corp can come in and acquire this, work with the village of Stewart to get rid of everything on it, make a nice clean lot, you just can't believe the number of ideas that come up with that and the interest in the lot. And lots of times they don't even argue over the price because you did all the hard work. So we find that we rarely lose money on the deal. We just did all the stuff that was maybe emotionally kind of an emotional roadblock more than an actual roadblock. Since that time, we've added LB 840, which helps spur that on. So we love anybody that's going to tear something down. It's like, you need to talk to LB 840, cheapens it up for you. So again, one of the things that we've done really well is get rid of properties that they just can't be rehabbed. Okay. Obviously, the most fun is new construction. So we have built a lot of homes. We try to average one a year. COVID, we didn't get that done, but we found there was just a ton of pent-up demand. So since COVID, whenever we want to say that was over, we've really averaged about 3 new homes in our community a year. So our goal of Stewart Development Corp, Stewart Village Manor Inc., Village of Stewart, is to promote private building and to work ourselves out of a job. Now we're smart enough to know that we'll probably never work ourselves out of a job, but we are now starting to see private spec projects from our builders, and that's kind of was the holy grail for us. That hey, we want somebody to do this and make money at it. We're just doing it really to break even. So we've certainly kept that new housing stock going by doing our Stewart Development Spec House program. But what we find is for every one of those, you get 1 or 2 private homes that are built along the way. So what are our success factors, I guess, for us? I mean, we have always said we're not going in it to make money. We're going in it to break even. Sometimes we do make money. Sometimes we don't break even. But over the course of time, we've held our money together and done a lot of great things. So the other thing I'd say is do projects that have a high likelihood of success. So walk before you run, start slow, do the low hanging fruit. And then the other piece that I think none of us like to do, it's not a sprint. You can't solve your housing issue in a year, right? So we've been doing this since the late 70s, and now we're in 2025. and we're starting to see that success, but a lot of it happened way before that. So it's a marathon, not a sprint for us. And then don't try to go at it alone. I mean, you'll notice the partnerships that we have regionally, locally. We always say it takes a team to build a dream. So we're not very good at being the Lone Ranger. We've always relied on partnerships to help get us where we want to go.
Yeah, I want to touch on rehab just for 1 second before we get off of that. One of the things that we tried to do in rehab was always improve the entire structure and make it suitable for the next generation. We didn't just go in and in my opinion, waste our rehab money on cosmetic things or on things that weren't going to sustain the life of the structure. And it's been a bit of a challenge in the last few years because the amount of money that you could spend on rehab has been limited. And I'm thankful to see that they've raised that level a little bit because it costs more. But I don't know exactly what it is today. I think it's around $50,000 on an OOR program, and it probably needs to go to 75. Just a thought of mine because of the additional costs that we're seeing. And if you really want to make an impact in the home, you have to have enough money to make sure that you substantially rehabilitate it from bottom to top so that it's available for the next generation. That's important to me. And I think it should be to the communities too. John mentioned acquisition and demolition. I saw Sean Caskey had a question, and I'll respond to that. His question is, does the village get involved in doing the demo? And generally they don't. We've been able to hire other outside sources to do that, but I did get an offer from them last week that we have a property now that we're trying to get demoed, and they said if it doesn't happen within the next month or so, we'd be happy to come in January, February when we have some time and get that house demoed off of there, which would be a great benefit to the neighborhood, and get that lot ready so that we can think about taking that site and building the next spec house on it. Or if somebody comes to us with an agreeable plan for development, we consider selling it. But we want to make sure that it's a big improvement. And so that's one of the reasons we have continued on with our spec house program, is because we don't want a lot that has been an eyesore that we've cleaned off not to have new construction on it. And so we're sure, as long as we control it, we can make sure that happens. One of the other things that has happened over the course of time is when I was on the village board years ago, we decided that we were going to annex as many of the adjoining properties as we could. So we did annexation, and we were able to provide some services then, electrical and gas and garbage and some of those type of things to those adjoining properties. And it really made it easy for us then to expand out and get some more development done in that area. And we had the opportunity then, and we have this school land, 145 acres that we were able to buy. We made it, the Bureau of Education Land Funds owned what people call a school land quarter on the north edge of town. We offered $300,000 for the quarter, and they didn't accept that, but they said they'd sell it to us for $400,000. And we thought for that kind of money, we'd be fools not to go ahead and buy it for $400,000. Now, note, of course, that at the same time, we had just purchased those gas distribution tracts in O'Neill and northwest of Stewart, and so we were getting some pretty good income, and so we knew we could have the funds available to make that purchase. And now we've got 81 acre lots designed for housing on the north edge of town, 3 industrial tracts, multi-acre. We have our new solar panel field there, and a place for our new water tower. And there's a map of it. And in the lower section down there, you can see on the right, the lower part, that's where our park is. And so it's an extension of North Main Street, goes right out through the middle of that ground. Our cemetery is in the upper left-hand corner or the northwest corner of that property. And Then the solar farm is in that blank spot there, just to the east or just to the right of the cemetery. Then the rest of it is a platted area for development. There's one new house being constructed there now. The county is going to purchase one of the commercial lots on the southeast corner of that quarter, so they can build a new shop, which they needed badly, and so for the roads department. But we see great things coming in the future there. We've got a plan to get a new well out there because it'll meet the specifications because it's far enough away from the existing wells that we have. And it's exciting to think that long after I'm gone, that we'd have a chance to fill that with homes or businesses out there on the north side of town. It's pretty aggressive for a town of 500 and some people to be in that position, but it was a great opportunity for us and we couldn't pass that up. So we'll be ready.
What's interesting is a lot of people are like, why are you planning to expand your community? And I'm like, well, do you want to plan to decrease it? We've done pretty good on infill, but we really, we had the river on the west side, so you really can't expand that way. It's hard to break up good irrigated farm ground to the east. To the south, again, the river runs on the west and south side of the community, so not super practical for definitely housing development or any development. So the north side was it, and we had 145 acres there available. That it's pretty big upfront investment, but we think that it's really going to pay for generations to come. So it gives our doesn't mean our community will grow. It gives our community a chance to grow if those opportunities come up.
We have a plan right now to combine our resources between the Development Corporation and Stewart Village Manor to build, and we've already let the bids on a new project. We just finished a child development center on the east side of town. It's permitted. They've got, I think there are 102 students, 102 children can be serviced there. I think we're over 50 now that are being serviced in that facility. And the Development Corporation had purchased a half a block just north of that facility a few years ago and didn't know exactly what we were going to do with it, but John's group, Stewart Village Manor Incorporated, had an opportunity to get some funding for what was sadly needed, some 3-bedroom duplex rental units. He'll talk about that.
Yeah, so all of our units, 14 units, are all 2-bedroom, and what we're finding is it works great and they're full, and we always have just a short waiting list. But all of our requests were coming for 3-bedroom family. So we had families that qualified income wise that weren't able to live here because they didn't have affordable housing. And so the idea really is that we have this option for them. Obviously, it doesn't discriminate versus someone that's single and wants a 3-bedroom or anything like that. You have to be income qualified for 3 of the 4 units. But again, if a family's moving in that qualifies for that, and they're not in a position yet to buy a house, this is a great way to get them in your community. You have a nice house, they're in your community, the longer they stay and the better housing they have, then your attraction rate is not just better, but your retention rate is also better, which is just as critical. And then the goal is over the course of time that they can, acquire, they can be homeowners at some point in time. So we're just missing out on a lot of families that wanted to live here, ended up in other communities because we didn't have that 3-bedroom available. So we're pretty excited. We partnered with CNED. Tish Telke's on the call here, and she's a big part of what we do through Stewart Village Manor Inc. And so again, that partnership, working with the Department of Economic Development on that grant, we came up with a lot of our own money. We think, we hope to be able to do more down the road, but we're excited that probably a year from now, we'll have four new units.
It's hard to find a place to buy and to move into Stewart, and it's been that way I mentioned that I've lived here for 50 years. When I moved to town, there weren't any houses available either. And we've done all this work over the course of the last 50 years on housing, and you still don't have available housing. It's really hard to find one. And so I guess it's proven to us that if we don't overbuild and we do it at a nice level, we can keep them full. We don't end up with a lot of vacancies or failures. We don't want any failures. And so right now we're in a position where we know that those 4 units will be able to get them rented as soon as we get them done at the end of next year. And the bid's out, and it's just a matter of waiting now for the weather to cooperate in the spring so we can get them built.
There's a question on here from Denise, seed money. John and Don's with us too. They were both in on the seed money. I came along a lot later after that. They got this started.
How do we get the seed money? Well, we made a lot of applications for grants back in the day, and we were able to acquire a few of those, and then we managed those grants in a positive way and retain ownership of the money that we received instead of just giving it all away and not being prudent about the payback and making certain that we handled the money like it belonged to all of us. And we've got in a position where we had to, once in a while, we'd have to buy back a property that wasn't being paid down. And so we had to do some more work to it and get it viable again so that we could maintain the dollars that we received. And we did that over and over again. And as we demonstrated the ability to do that, we could put that on an application for more assistance, and we're able to get some more. So we were able to be successful in protecting the dollars, and we've proven that, and I think that's something that you'll see in the future too.
There's a question above that that talks more about demo. So the village, as John mentioned, doesn't necessarily do the demo for us. They can do some small projects, but what they do is, because they own all their own services, is they will put in sewer, water, electrical. That's all through the city. Do they bill us? They do. Does it cost the same as if NPPD or REA does it? Not even close. So their goal is really to get their money back. So we're able to put in our infrastructure at cost in most cases. So that's where our partnership with the village comes in. They own all the equipment to do that, and they own the services, and they're partnering with us. And what do they get out of it? They get, whoever's living there is buying their services, so they understand that there's some long-term benefit to them. That's not even counting the taxes. You want to get stuff on the tax roll. That's where our communities are really funded.
Yeah, we purchased a 7-acre site a few years ago, maybe 5 years ago, and we've got a plan now to sell the last one of those building sites there after 5 or 6 years. So there'll be another new house built on that 7 acres on the northeast corner of town, and that'll probably happen next year as well. So by providing positive energy and opportunity for people to dream, to do what they want to do, it's been a real benefit for our community. And that gets me back to the thing we talked about, not wanting to do it all ourselves. A young builder that grew up here, and his wife from Atkinson, came back recently and bought 12 lots in the northwest corner of town that aren't even shown on the map there. And that's their own development. They're building new houses on there. They've got 2.5 of them built now, and they're planning to sell more of the lots and build more houses. And that's private investment by them. That's their risk, and they're doing the work there and providing more housing opportunities for people to move to town without us even being directly involved. We did a little help on getting some of the infrastructure put in those lots, made a little loan to the village to get some of that done, but we haven't had to do the building and arrange it. They take care of that themselves, and that's a real benefit to a small town if you can find somebody that will come in and be a developer. And it's pretty rare from the conversations I've had with people around the state of Nebraska and smaller communities. I mean, you can get it in some of those towns that are growing that have a community college or something, or large manufacturer, but we have none of that. So we're just glad that we have a lot of people that want to live in our town and feel comfortable here and know that they're going to get the services that they need and the education for their children. And so it works well.
Yeah, it's more fun to see it done privately. I'm not, you know, you know, that the work that we've done publicly is now converted into somebody that's taken that concept and doing it presumably for profit. I don't know why you would do it if you weren't. So that's the goal. We have plenty of infill projects to do.
Yeah.
Our job is to continue to partner with CNED and our local people to come up with the rural housing initiatives that the state of Nebraska or anyone else comes up with. And so we've got plenty of work to do, but to see that seed that was planted, you know, 40, 50 years ago come to fruition with one of our, you know, native kids coming home and starting their own business and doing spec homes. And I think of the 12 lots, 5 of them are sold, 5 or 6 of them are sold. There's 3 of them being used right that have buildings. Two houses are pretty much done, and one was a spec that sold, and there's 2 private homes that he built on his lot. So he sold the lots and built the house. So it's a great concept, and you know, I think it's working for him, and we want that to continue to work. So that's a little bit of the fruits of our work, we felt.
Okay.
I guess, Lori, we're open to any questions now. We're getting to that time.
Sure. Sure. Yes. What questions do you have for our presenters? We have their contact information on the screen for you to capture, but there was kind of a follow-up question in the chat box about, are you using engineers? You know, the city's doing your own streets and infrastructure. Are you incorporating an engineering facet into any of that, or do you have a village engineer?
Yep, we have a village engineer in there. They're doing the platting of those lots out north of town there. The
Okay.
map that you saw was done by them. We use JEO out of Wahoo, and they worked for the village for a number of years, and so they're familiar with what we're doing here, and they do a good job. So.
Okay. So what questions do you have for our presenters today? As people are thinking, John, one thing I remember you always talking about the importance of asking the right question. Do you want to tell that story about the pigs and how that was important?
Well, that was kind of the start of our development corporation. We had a block adjoined our park, and my good friend Don sitting behind me here, Don Schmatter, John's dad, and I were not on the village board at the time, but the village board wanted to, and it was full of hogs and guineas and livestock, and it was right by the park, and it was run down, and it was in bad shape. And the village board, we had kind of an aggressive group of village board members at the time, and they thought, we're going to clean that up. We're just going to make it clean that. We're going to condemn it or whatever it takes to get it clean. And our attorney said we could do that. And so Don and I got to talking. We said, well, what's that going to cost? I mean, do you have any idea what it's going to cost for you to do? Well, we budgeted $25,000 for legal expenses because it might take that much to get it done. So I knew the guy that owned the property, pretty good pal of mine, and used to work for our company years ago. And so I went to his house and I said, you ever think about selling that? It's getting kind of run down over there. And he said, yeah, you know, I've been thinking, I'm getting a little older now. I've been thinking about selling it. And I said, well, do you have an idea what you'd like for that block? And he said, I was kind of thinking $25,000. And the old light bulb went off, and Don and I went back to the village board and said, we're going to form a development corporation. You loan us $25,000 and we're going to sell the lots off, and then we'll pay you back. I said, just don't charge us any interest and we'll get you the $25,000 back. So first thing we did was we sold 2 lots to a couple of ranchers that wanted to move to town, build a new house. And then which was fine. And then we had room for 3 or 4 more houses on the block. And so we decided, well, we're gonna see if we can come up with the money to build our first spec house. And the rehab board had been getting payback on the rehab loans, and they had $50,000 sitting there that wasn't being used. And so we asked them if we could borrow that from them so that we could build a house. And so we built the first house for, I think, $52,000 on that block. And it sat there for a month or two, and nobody really understood it and understood how this worked and what's the deal with this house. And so we put a sign in front of it, and a young family decided that they'd talk to us about it. And so we explained it to them, and they bought the house. And
they're still there, and they run a daycare.
And they're still living there, and they run a daycare. And the one thing that so then we decided, we asked the city if they wanted, the rehab board wanted the $50,000 back. And they said, no, we still have some more funding. We don't know what we do with it anyway, so why don't you just build another one? So we looked at that house after they moved in, and then had toys and stuff all over the lawn. And we said, there was no garage in that first house. We're going to try to come up with enough money to build a house with at least a single car garage on it. So we took the same plan, went to the next lot north and built a house with a garage on it, so they could keep their stuff inside in the second house. And those people bought that house, and they're still living in that house too. So it's just been amazing the number of people that have bought those spec houses and stayed in them over the course of the last, 30, 35 years, and or added on to them. We've had a couple of people that have built onto those houses. And so when we build them right. We use good quality insulation packages and good windows and good doors, and make sure that we build them with the right product so that they could add on to if they wanted to. Most people have just stayed in the house when they built it. I mean, or when they bought it. We've had a couple of them that have moved up to another location, but not too many. So ask the right question.
Yeah.
Ask George how much you want.
Yeah, that has always stuck with me, that you just asked the right question of the right person, and look what developed as a result of it. So what are your future plans as Development Corp. Stewart Manor? You touched on some partnership. Have that question.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think Howard also chatted a question as well, so we'll address that. I think our next focus is to get the infrastructure on the new lots out there, get the water tower, get the system for the whole town, because that's kind of holding us up right now. They have to get their own well and septic.
We'll need a lift station for the sewer too.
Yeah.
That we're gonna try to help with that, no doubt about it. And obviously, we're gonna continue our little spec house program as long as we've got the funding. If we sell them fast enough, which we have been, we'll still have some money available there. Now the cost has gone up a little bit, but we still get them sold for the new price. I mean, if you think about COVID, when we built one right when COVID started, $175,000, and then when we built one this last year, same plan right beside it, $305,000. So
wow.
So it
takes more to get the same thing, but we'll continue to do our spec house program, and that's probably really going to focus on infill in the community on some of those lots we're able to acquire and clean up. Our next big project is, likely a workforce housing project once we get our infrastructure on our new development out there, and then you're probably going to see us do 3 to 5 at a time, or at least that's what we anticipate. Partnering with maybe some of our employers, obviously CNED and state of Nebraska, whatever programs out there. And we learned, because we applied for a grant out there, and some of it had, for us, needed to go to infrastructure. They didn't necessarily want to put in the infrastructure. So we're doing that on our own, getting that done, and then we'll come back. So in the meantime, we've built these apartments, doing our spec house program, focusing on our infill. Again, we got 1 lot left in our 7-acre development. Everybody thought that was crazy. It's on the edge of town. It's a quarter of a cornfield, and it's had more demand, and they're the cheapest lots in town. So
they're bugging me to get it settled so we can get it paid for, because it's done. I mean, we just have to get it done.
Yeah, so we'll keep doing what we're doing infill wise for sure. But our next big project is out on our new development, where we focus on attracting workforce.
Okay. So who's moving to Stewart and taking residency in your developments? What does Stewart look like census wise? Young families, you've got a new child care center that is
do up in
licensed for
Southeast
what you said, 102?
Yeah, it's been very well received and used, and it's exciting to have that. We just did a 3.5 or 4, maybe $4 million addition on our high school. We're still K-12, even with 500 and some people in town. And we've got a good, solid school district here, and we haven't been in a position where we had to consolidate, and we can provide great education here in a kind of a smaller footprint of a school district. And so having those comfortable and well-made bedrooms built over the course of the time has really kept the school population up, and has really helped us a lot over the past generation.
So I don't know that it's directly related, but it probably is. We do have the youngest demographic in the region. So when you see that statistic, and we didn't even know that ourselves.
Yeah.
However, you know, the household size continues to shrink, you
Yeah.
know, so we can't, that's a battle that we can't necessarily control. So we just tell everybody if they're moving back or moving into the community that they have to have at least 4 kids. We don't necessarily care how they bring them in or how they get there, but and that clearly doesn't work. But that's what
Yeah.
we have more houses, more households than we did 50 years ago, but still less people because of the household size shrinking.
Right,
I think
right. That
probably
is
happens all
shrinking.
over. Yeah.
We can drive
I'd
around.
like to see.
We can drive around and see that the number on the sign doesn't have really anything to do with the quality of the community. You know, I mean, a lot of people use that as the key to success for small town America, but the number of people that live in your town doesn't have a thing to do with it, as far as I'm concerned.
No, you look at things like as your tax base growing and what percent, also what's your per capita income per the area or region or state, and through some of these efforts, ours has driven up. You know, in pre 1980 and then into the farm crisis, I'm certain it wasn't very good. Right now, we're in a really good space with that, community wise.
Okay, good. What would you say to communities that are looking to you and saying, there's no way we could ever do that?
What do you have? You just have to start.
Yeah. No way you can do it in a day. That's right.
Get you a team.
And you don't have, it doesn't matter what day you start, but you have to start.
That's right.
Okay, and they start on a day, what would their first thing be that they would do on that day?
Talk to the folks in the community about what their needs are for housing, and what they see the future would be for a housing program, and would they support a housing program, and make sure that whatever you did decide you were going to do for the first task was successful, because that's one of the big keys, is making sure that you don't start with a failure. We've had other communities that tried our spec house program using the same plan, the same program, and once or twice they build a house, and then all of a sudden half of the town doesn't know what it is, doesn't know why it's there, doesn't think somebody's making too much profit on it, and so the house will sit, and a bunch of negative talk in the community will get started right off the bat. The minute you put the first spade in the ground, because what are they doing that for? Why would you build something like that? We got plenty of other houses somebody could buy. You don't need to have that program. They must be making a lot of money on that thing. And so if they price it at $300,000, they probably only have 220 in it. And so they're just trying to make a profit. By having a community group involved and everybody knowing exactly what it costs to build what we built, we were able to sell the houses because they knew they were for cost, and they knew it was a good deal. And word of mouth sold the program.
And they knew we'd do it again if somebody bought it,
That's exactly right.
because that was our plan.
Okay.
We can't do, well, hopefully we can do multiples now, but the reality is we did one at a time when we started the next one after we sold it. So the sooner the one sold, the faster we could get going.
Okay. Okay, so questions for our presenters? We're getting some
Howard's
comments
question
in the
about
chat
what we're
box.
planning to do. Maybe we did.
Pardon me?
Howard had a question about what the future holds, and hopefully we covered that well enough.
Yeah. The future of housing, it's a generation thing, and you guys started in the 80s with a couple rehab programs and just kept building from there. So, yeah. So, any last questions for our presenters? So, well,
Yeah, I
if
mean,
not,
I'm guessing,
oh,
sorry, I do
go
have, this
ahead.
is Sean, I had a question back on the, very impressive. I've just, the 18 village employees to build your own streets at cost. That's really holding a lot of development in our rural communities with declining tax bases. I'm just, from a leadership role, has that 18 employees grown over time, or was there a decision by the village board years ago to build your own streets? I'm just the process by which you guys had some history on that.
Well, we took the opportunity to do that when we saw what it was costing us for a group of people to come to town for 6 hours, and it was cost us $120,000 a year for them to come in and pave 3 or 4 blocks of armor coat. And so because we had the gas company, because we take care of the park, and because we have the electric company, and because we pick up our own garbage, we had employees that weren't busy 24 hours a day, 6 days a week. And so we had the opportunity to take a look at buying our own equipment and doing that, Sean. And now we're armor coating in communities within an hour or hour and a half up here all the time with our crew. And last year, when we used to do 5 or 6 blocks total per year, last year we were able to armor coat 41 blocks in our town, paid for by the other communities because our crew was out working in their community.
Yeah, that's really progressive. So you're just doing armor coating. What about like some of the smaller towns have their water main in the street, so it all has to be pulled up the main and the street on top of it? That's not the level that they do, or do you guys do some of that too?
We're not capable of doing that right now. We do a lot of our own curb replacement, no question about that. Sidewalk replacement, we do some of that, especially in the downtown area. But it's pretty much the armor coating because we're set up for that.
Yeah, well, that's
John, how it kind of really comes together is, and somebody mentioned, hey, do you have that engineer? And so what the village usually does, has the engineer it. They put it out to bids with outside sources. It's an astronomical number. Okay, we have the people resources, we have the equipment. Now, are they always able to do the job that Pavers Inc. or whoever can do? No, it's not happening that way. Are we retaining our own money with our own people and putting out a good product? Yes, we are. So they've always said it's just outrageous. So they did their own light project because all the electrical contractors, it just costs so much to come in and do all that. We had all the people, we had the electricians, we had the resources to do it. So they put up all the lights around town.
Yeah,
we
redid all of our service lines and all of our poles in town over the course of the last 5 or 6 years. And so having that crew available, we bring in interns from Northeast Community College to help us with some of that work. It's a good experience for them. And we have a scholarship program where we'll pay for their education if they come back and help us for a period of time. And so that's really been a benefit to us too. And sometimes we retain those guys full time afterwards. So.
Right. That's just a great story. Not only are you providing the service, like putting in streets at cost to your taxpayers, you're also basically creating a dozen jobs that wouldn't be there otherwise. So to me, there's like you said, when you're involving interns, so there's a whole workforce retention and development, in addition to providing a lower cost service where it's really hard to get for other communities to get contracts to do those things anyways, so just really impressive. Great work,
then you can sell a new spec house to one of those employees.
Yeah, that's right.
Which we just did. And he got married.
Okay.
Yeah, better yet.
Now all they need is 4 kids.
We've always loved bachelor
Well,
parties, too. We like to have them buy our spec houses, 'cause they'll come in and find a wife, and then all of a sudden they got 4 kids. So bachelor farmers.
So, well, thank you both, John and John, for your time today and for sharing the story of Stuart. We'll put your contact information in the chat box here momentarily, but I just want to say thank you and encourage everybody to reach out to you if they have questions about what's going on in Stuart. It's an amazing community. When we went there in December of 2017, I was so impressed. Small population number, but a community that's doing big things. And so we greatly appreciate you being kind of that forerunner of what small communities can do, and that you're looking to the future with vision and passion. So greatly appreciate that. So you can see that we do have a HomeNE website, and today's webinar will eventually, in the next day or two, be posted there, and you can go back and take a look at that, as well as previous webinars. This is our 86th webinar of the HomeNE Learning Network series, so you can search that website for what you're looking for, just using some search words. So, and then we do push pause in December, and so our next HomeNE webinar will be in January of 2026. So stay tuned for that announcement as to that speaker and that topic. So once again, thank you so much to the Village of Stuart and to John and John for presenting today. Does anybody have any last thoughts?
I'm just going to repeat my thank you to SCAD for continuing this program. It's a vital, essential program for housing in the state of Nebraska. Appreciate the sacrifices you make to keep it going, and please continue.
Thank you. We greatly appreciate that. So with that, have a happy Thanksgiving to everybody and a blessed holiday season, and we will see you again in January. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. Happy holidays.